Welcome to the Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. This podcast is dedicated to providing the key ingredients to transform your employees into a dream team, creating consistent results in every aspect of your business, including your people, your process, and your profits. Your team empowerment, leadership, business development, communication, hiring, and firing. As some of the country's leading staffing and management consultants, we help business owners, i.e. entrepreneurs, and the team that support them, what we call intrapreneurs, to powerfully connect and work together to grow the business. Welcome to the Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. My name is Molly McGrath, and welcome back to our repeat listeners. If you are a first-time listener, you are in much luck today because we have a phenomenal guest to kick off today's conversation. And we're going to be speaking about making your first hire when you're not sure how you're going to pay for them. Today's guest is attorney Kari Williams, and I'm so excited. I've known Kari for many, many years now. We've worked very closely. I actually supported her with making her first hire, and she's going to speak about that today. Kari is the owner and founder of Frankfort Elder Law out of Frankfort, Kentucky. So welcome, Kari. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you so much, Molly, for inviting me. I'm really excited about talking with you.
Yes,
I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes, this topic, I think I told you before we started recording today, I get phone calls every day from attorneys across the country that were in the exact same position that you were in. How many years ago was it when we made your first hire?
Gosh, it's been about 5 now.
Wow, Courtney's been with you for 5 years now?
I know, right? How exciting is that?
Oh my. I will never forget that first conversation that we had in regards to, we were at a LWP retreat. I forget what city we were in, and we were working on the business building and working on the brainstorming sprints and talking about, hiring and delegation and growing your business. And I will never, ever forget when you and I sat down in that room and that space that you were in when you were at that precipice and shaking in your boots, if you will, of is how to hire, when's the right time, if you're not making money as a solo, but you need to feel the fear and do it anyway. Can you just dive in and speak to us a little bit about what was the deal sealer, if you will, for you to take the leap and drum up the courage to hire someone?
Well, Molly, if you know, I don't just talk a little bit, but okay. Well, for me, the big sell was knowing that I don't have the personality that can sit down and follow through with paperwork. If it were up to me, I would just go out and have fun, and I would get all these clients having fun, getting to know them. But then it's, what do you do with them afterward? I need somebody to follow me around like a mom, basically. And in fact, that was one of the first questions that I asked Courtney was, how do you feel about being a mom to a lawyer? And she said years later, I didn't think you were serious. But it was really about knowing that I had limitations, that just because you are a professional, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a doctor, you are not Superman, Superwoman. You do really well what you can do, but you have weaknesses as well. And so knowing how to balance those and finding knowing that you need somebody to balance those weaknesses is more important than trying to fill that yourself.
So and that's what I love. But I love what you just said, that if it was up to you, you wouldn't be dealing with the paperwork and processing of files. And I love that about your mission statement and your tagline for your business, because it's all about family.
It absolutely is. I got started in elder law. I passed the bar in, 1989. How long ago was that, right? And did family law for a while. But then we started having a family, and so I was stay-at-home homeschooling mom for a while. My mom went through dementia, and we found out that even when you think you should know what to do, you don't know what to do. And so that's how I really got started into the elder law business. Our community is pretty small. Our town is small, although we do have Louisville and Lexington nearby. It's still going to the big city for a lot of my clients. And so our area really needed somebody who could reach out to these people who are facing really dramatic life changes, such as how are they going to take care of mom and dad? Mom and dad are starting to fail. What do we do next? Where do we shop for a nursing home? How do we pay for it? Do we need a nursing home? All of those questions I had, and as a lawyer, I thought I could be able to, let me try that again. I thought that should be able to answer those questions for myself and for my family. I couldn't do that. And so what are other families who don't even have a clue where to start facing? Because that's really tough. So for me, it was about reaching out and being compassionate and helping people. It wasn't about being a lawyer per se. It wasn't about filing the paperwork. Some lawyers really enjoy doing the paperwork stuff. Some lawyers really want to do the research stuff. I really want to reach out there and help families and bring them in. I don't want to be bogged down with the paperwork and the process. I need somebody around me that can do that.
Wow. When you just started telling your backstory, if you will, and talking about your why and why you do what you do, how you made that transition from family law into estate planning and elder law, your entire energy just completely shifted. You could have talked for hours about it. You even said, wait a minute, let me start again. Let me say that again, because you could talk for hours and hours about serving clients and fulfilling your mission, because it is all about family. And I remember that day sitting at the retreat with you, and you in a place of overwhelmed, for lack of a better term, just saying, okay, I'm at this tipping point here where it's almost like that old school commercial, time to make the donuts, where you're in the front servicing the clients, but then you have to run back in the back and make the product. And I'll never forget asking you the questions of okay, tell me what you'd like to do. Tell me what you don't like to do. Tell me what your world would look like if you did have somebody that can touch the paper, that can process the files and things of that nature, that will allow you to serve in your why every day of helping families, number one, your clients and prospective clients, but number two, your family. It allows you the freedom to be there because you were homeschooling and things of that nature. And I remember sitting there and you saying, okay, I'll do it. I'll go back and I will hire someone. I'll let you help me with that. And can you talk to us a little bit about how long it took for you, because I'm sure that this is always the number one question I get, to see an ROI when you feel the fear and make the leap anyways, but not really certain how you're going to pay for the person and giving up the freedom and the control. How long did it take for you to see an ROI on your investment of taking on, not only were you going to take on a new person and increase your overhead, but you were moving into a new office as well, correct?
Yes, we were moving into a new office. Let me tell you a little bit of background about where I'm at and what our culture is like here, or what our system is like here, because, or what our city is like. Because I think that goes into the background of it maybe taking me longer than what some people expect. I started out because there is a learning curve to what I do. I didn't know anything about elder law. I didn't know anything about Medicaid planning. So I shared office space with another firm and used that time of paying less rent, paying less fees in things, and not having a support person to learn what I was doing and how to do it. So I went to a lot of continuing ed, read a lot of books, didn't have many clients, and we decided to take the jump. My husband is integral in this. It really is a family business. He is very much a part of the support that I have in being able to take this on. and was very much behind me. And we had decided that, okay, we're going to take the leap. Not only are we going to put all of our eggs in that basket, we're going to get new office space that I had no idea how I was going to pay for that. And we're going to get a support person here, Courtney, our client services coordinator, who won't ever get on and talk about these things with me. But we were going to decide how to do that. When we went through the process, some of the really important things that you and I did together, some of that work, was figuring out what my strengths were. I can sit there and talk to, as you know, I can sit here and talk to a picture frame and it'll probably start talking back in a couple of minutes. And if I hired somebody, I would hire somebody who's like me, that I enjoy. Not that I don't like my Courtney. And yes, she is my Courtney. But I would hire somebody who had my skills and could sit there and talk, and we would have a blast, but we would be closed in like a week and a half because nobody figured out how to pay the bills. And so the return on investment was very intangible at first. It was more having clients on the books, being able to go out and meet people who could help me build a business and relationships with people. And it was about her being here to answer the phone when it rang, put appointments on the calendar, making sure that my emails and letters got answered. Those sorts of things are very important that I didn't have the gifts to be able to do. Sometimes I think as professionals, we think we can do it all and we can't. So I'll tell you the story about the exact day that was a turnaround for us. It was maybe a year or so, year and a half into it. In fact, it was mid-April, maybe the next year. And bills, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. Fortunately, we had some savings. I was able to borrow a bit. And I went in close to April 1st and I looked at Courtney and I said, I don't know if we can go on any longer. And I sent that into the universe. I just said, okay, universe, God, whatever. If you want me to be doing this in a year, 6 years, whatever, you need to get me some clients in here because we're not growing enough to be able to support what we're doing. Within 2 weeks of me saying that and us focusing on that, we had already met. This is mid-April. We had already met our monthly goal of what we needed to stay open and keep the doors open and be able to pay us. So it was an immediate turnaround. At that point, it took us a while to build it and get there. We come from a small town, and it is very hard when you are starting a new business. I'm from Michigan originally, moved down here, and my husband's not connected to build those connections in this town. So it took a while for our name to get out there. Are they going to be there a while? Do they know what the heck they're doing? Those sorts of things took time to build up. But once they did, we've been going like gangbusters. So every year we see significant growth, and that's exciting.
Wow, 5 years later.
Yeah.
Just, it's amazing. So a few things that I heard there, Kari, that I really want our listeners to take home with them is number one, that it wasn't overnight. I always hear people when they call me about hiring and adding people to the team that they need to see an investment right away. And you knew that wasn't the case per se, because there was a part of you being able to let it go of control of the things in the office, number one. But number two, it takes a while to finally that you have some freedom because you're not processing paper and working in the administrative things to get out there and build your brand and to communicate with people that you are the expert and that you are going to be there in a year or 5 years for that matter later. So being able to have that freedom of getting someone Courtney's caliber, your very first hire, up to speed, and then having that, I always say, built-in accountability for you to get your butt out there and to be focusing on the business building things that you need to be to make certain that you can pay for them and pay for your overhead and keep the lights on, correct?
Absolutely. I think it's very scary to put your feet out there. I understand that it's when you take on a new hire, it's really, really scary, especially that first one, because you realize that they eat first. At least that's how I've always treated it for me, that, I hired her. She had trust and faith to come along with me for the ride, and she's been here through the ride. Everything that we do here is a partnership between us. We have a wonderful rapport. She really has my back, and I have always had her back. We've really grown and matured. It's just been really exciting to watch how we have changed, how both the firm has grown and how we've grown as people because of our support for each other and just being able to undertake those things. But it is scary. It's scary to jump into that deep end of that pool sometimes.
But something else just popped up for me was that you, through that interviewing process, and you sharing a bit ago about that, one of the first questions that you asked her in the interview, and I think this how you phrased it when we spoke a couple weeks ago about how do you feel about parenting another adult, and how she handled that question and not hiring her because of her resume, because of her wonderful skills and knowledge in the legal industry, which she didn't have. And 5 years later, she has your back, and you can go to her and say, listen, if we don't start getting money and clients in the door, I'm afraid we're going to have to close up shop. And her not freaking out and putting her resume out on Indeed and looking for another job, but quite the opposite. Like you said, having your back and crushing it, reaching goal.
Absolutely. She has been there. I say this is as much her business as it is mine. And as you know, we went through a lot of testing because you helped us with that. And I think it was so important not only to find the ability to develop the skills, but also to find the kind of personality that was committed and dedicated. We have not always had a perfect relationship, because I think in any situation where there is growth, you're going to have some painful moments. You're going to have moments that you think, oh, do I really want to be here? Does she really want to be here? Can we be a team together? And we have had some very definite moments like that. But it has always led to growth and more understanding and realizing what our roles are. And so those stressful moments, even though you just want to say, okay, should I walk away, are very important for growth when you have quality individuals that you're hiring. It's not about the skill, it's the ability to learn the skill that's important. It's about how you work together as a team. I have tried to tell attorneys that I work with that get very frustrated that it's about team building. You have to have them all on your side to make it successful. Now, does that always work? Of course not. You can't always read what's going on with people. Sometimes people don't know what they want themselves. For example, we had someone work here that didn't fit, not because he didn't have a great personality or wasn't a hard worker, but this was not where his heart and his passion were. And that's okay. You can say to those people, look, you need to find where you belong, and I will give you a reference. I will be kind to you. I'll treat you well. It's just we don't belong together. And that's okay to realize that. Fortunately, you did a really great job with Courtney, and I just knew that she was the right person for the job, and she has stuck with me through thick and thin.
Yeah, and a lot of that was your ability to hire from the human side and the leadership side of things, and trusting that. To your point, a partnership is not 50-50 where every day, it's split down the middle of who's doing what and showing up with your A game. To your point, some days, and this is for a drive-by coaching tip for anyone in the hiring process, and Kari and I work very hard on this, that most days it's the entrepreneur who's going to walk in and say, I quit. I just want to open a hot dog stand, or I just want to go bartend at a tiki bar in Key West. This stuff is crazy hard.
Do you have a microphone in our office?
And I tell potential employees that I'm like, here's the deal. Like you said, are you up for parenting an adult? As an entrepreneur, first and foremost, they have to understand that 9 out of 10 times it's them talking you off the ledge as an entrepreneur versus you as an entrepreneur talking the employee off the ledge. It is. I tell people it's an absolute honor to be a professional babysitter and to be doing that for an entrepreneur, because if you're fortunate enough to work for someone of your caliber, of your Colby Kari, that is truly entrepreneurial spirit.
I like how sweetly you put that.
Well, it's the truth, and you recognize that and you embrace it, and your employee knows how to manage and embrace and to navigate that and to support you with that. That some days they got to pick you up off the ground where you're like, oh my God. Or other days they're like, okay, wait, whoa, we're not starting 10 more projects.
Well, let me tell you about that story, because I always come in and say that Courtney does the hard work because she does the stuff I don't want to do. And she will say, yes, but I can't do what you do. And so she said, when I'm out and about, or when I'm on vacation or out of the office, she said, I sometimes don't realize how hard it is for me when you're not here, unless you're not here, because she will support what I do as much as I support what she does. And she will say to me, yeah, go on and take the day off with your boys. For example, I took my boys yesterday to an amusement park because we had a couple of appointments canceled. And she said, I'll stay here and hold the phone, and keep the fort going. And you just go out and relax because you need to refuel just as much as I do. And she is great like that. I don't have to wonder if anything's getting done. I know it's usually when I ask her if something's done, she'll look at me and roll her eyes and say, I did it yesterday. So she's right there, and we both support the need for both of us. Our families are very, very, very important. We are not in this business to completely make money and work 90 hours a week. That's not where our heart is. Our heart is with our families. Our heart is with our clients when we're here, but we recognize that you need to refuel your family. You need to refuel your spirit. So it's very important to have an office atmosphere that supports that. I know that doesn't work for everybody, but it really works for us. So if it is 2:00 and we don't have any appointments going on and it's a pretty day out, we probably are going to let the answering machine pick up. And that is okay with us because we know where we're at. We know that our clients, as a general rule, know that that's how we focus our attention. So we've made it about family in that way, about our families as well as our clients' families.
I love that. So much is popping up for me right now. Truly, you even look at on your homepage, your website, and it says, because it's all about family. And as I'm sitting here listening to you speak, I would say you are a trailblazer. And here's why, because I get phone calls every single day from people that say, you know what? I built the $1 million, $2 million practice, $3 million practice. I got 2 offices. I have 15 employees. I have X, Y, and Z, and I am fried. I love the word that you said about your spirit. I'm not home with my family. My employees are exhausted, and I'm not passionate about what I do anymore. Help me get back to basics. How do I go back to myself, maybe a paralegal, a client service coordinator, go back to basics and be able to have that work-life balance and give myself permission. And this is a big one, especially in this day and age. I've been seeing this more and more and more. It's not about a hustle. It's about alignment. And Kari, from day one, when I met you so many years ago, you've had that essence. And when you made the decision, you took the leap to make your first hire. It was because, okay, how much money do you want to make to be able to knock off and go take your kids to amusement park? I know you. I know your family. I've met your entire family. I've seen you with your family. It is number one, very, very important. That's why your clients hire you, because you walk your talk. And all right, tell us what that number is. to allow for you to have this work-life balance, not be stressed out, not have all the administrative garbage on your plate, but be able to have the courage and give yourself permission to hire someone so you can have that life that you ultimately want, knowing it might take you a year to get there. And now you're there. And now it's really fascinating for me to hear. And I would love for you to speak in, because I would almost say that you were a pioneer in this, because when you started your practice, like you said, 20 some years ago or whatever it might be, that it was all about bigger, better, faster, and the $1 million. I hear people talking about the 6-figure, 7-figure practice, and people are starting to catch on and say, you know what? No, that's a crock. I don't want that. That is not the definition of success. And I feel like you really put the time, energy, and effort into your why, into your mission, vision, values, and redefining success way before your time.
Oh, I appreciate that. I was brought up as an only child, and my dad did not go to college. He spent a little bit too much time. He went to college, but he didn't go there for academics, shall we say? And I think that he regretted it. So he rose up through the ranks of the business of the company that he was in. He was a very hard worker, very smart man, just didn't have the degree. And he pushed and pushed and pushed me to be that, 90 million hours a week kind of person. That is not where my soul is. I find that I just can't do that. That's not what Courtney wants. I think that you have to figure out what you want. Now, on the other hand, don't get me wrong. We are always looking for the next client, and you always, we're always excited when somebody comes in and writes us a check. So don't think it. But let me tell you our exciting story for this year. And we celebrate being in this office space for 5 years. In January. It was like January 1st, although it was probably the 2nd or 3rd, but whatever. We will have been here 5 years. I came in one day and I subscribed to this email that sends me really cheap airline fares. And I said to Courtney, I can find us really reasonable tickets to go to Hawaii. Let's say we take everybody to Hawaii. And she said, yes, we have made enough money that we are able to take both of our families on a firm retreat to Maui we're going for 9 days in November. And how exciting is that? I'm really, really proud of that. I know she is too. We even got the condos already paid off. So how cool is that? So the money is there. You just have to realize that you don't need lots and lots of figures. You need enough to live on. Nobody takes it with them. That's kind of a cliche, but it doesn't follow you. Now my poor kids are saying, gosh, you're not leaving an inheritance, but sorry about their luck. They've sponged off me long enough. I have the greatest kids, so they are not sponges.
No, they are not even close.
Oh, shoot. But I do tease them that they will have no money when I die because, we've already blown it on them.
But they will have many, many memories, right? And they get the best version of their mom. I used to always, when I, was running 2 businesses, stressed out, I always said, my poor kids are getting the crappy version of me. And that was my wake up call and I know you and I have talked about this extensively. I love this story that you just told because it's you and Courtney, and once you made the decision of what you want, you visioned what you wanted your work life to look like, your personal life, your family impact, all of that. And when we unpacked it and we started breaking it down, how many clients do you need a month? How many appointments do you need a month? What's your average fee? What do you need for overhead to pay for this new hire, to pay for your new office space, to make the investment in coaching in the professional organizations that you have, et cetera? And I remember your face, you're like, this is absolutely doable. Not only is this doable, but I'm excited about this, and I'm excited about building this very boutique practice that allows me to live the life that you ultimately want your clients to live.
Well, and one thing that I want to touch on is you mentioned vision. And not only was it a vision of what I wanted it to look like financially, but literally I had a vision for this office space. My former office where I shared office was next door. And I would ask the landlord, can I just go in and look? Can I just go in and look? And I would say to my husband, because rent here for our town, it's $1,000 a month for my office space, which is somewhat high for this area. I love the space. It is very peaceful. I wanted an atmosphere where people could come in and just feel like, oh, because when they come to a lawyer's office, especially in elder law, when mom's gone in the nursing home or dad's in the hospital, they have so much stress. I mean, their shoulders are up to their ears. And literally, I literally do this, Molly. I take them in the conference room and I have a huge peaceful picture that I got on the cheap somewhere, but it's very peaceful. It's of a lake. And I literally tell them, now let's breathe because you have forgotten how to breathe. I envisioned that. It was in my mind's eye. I knew what this office would look like before I even opened it up because I knew the atmosphere. So it's not just important to look at numbers, and it's not just important to think what you want for yourself, but what kind of experience do you want your clients to have? What is it going to feel like when they walk into your building? Because that's hard on a lot of people to come to a lawyer's office. We can be intimidating. People think that, we're rich or we don't care. There are lots of stereotypes up there. And I don't think that those are all true. I think we do care, but that's another podcast for another time. But I think those stereotypes that are out there are just really intimidate people. She's going to ask for a lot of money up front, and you need to learn how to take those fears away. And our office has really done that for people. I have people who come in and they just say, I feel so much better. I feel like there's an answer. Those are my best clients. That's really how I get paid. I have to pay lights, bills, and food, but that's how I get paid in my heart. That feeds my soul.
Wow. And what I love about that is, it just came to me. So often I will get phone calls from attorneys and they will use, I love that visual that you just painted where your clients are walking in and their shoulders are up in their ears, and that feeling. You see it and that in your core and in your bones. And that's what I hear a lot. Yeah, you've been there, done that. That's when I met you, and you emulated that. So what it's like to feel that, but also what you were searching for. And again, in the topic of this podcast today about making your first hire when you're shaking in your boots, you're not sure how you're going to pay for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What was most important for you was to breathe again and to learn how to breathe. And what I love is how this comes full circle. That's really important for you to not be white knuckling, being stressed out, whether it be about money up clients, getting the work done, what have you. But what's most important for you is that vision that you created in your office way before you even got that space. But I love that you actually take your clients through that experience from the second they walk into the conference room, and you are giving them the greatest gift. Yes, the planning, and yes, the services that you provide ultimately will deliver that peace of mind and that breath because they know their family's taken care of. But first and foremost, what's coming to me is for them to give themselves permission and put the oxygen mask on them first. The second they walk into your office, and what you're painting for them is, what it feels like to walk around and not be able to breathe, number one. And number two, whether they hire you, whether they don't hire you, you're already giving them that gift of being able to take that landing breath and be able to let go and be able to pour out their story. And that what you want for them is for their shoulders to be out of their ears when they walk out of that conference room.
Well, I appreciate that, Molly. And like you said, not every client hires me, but I try to get people to walk away with a feeling that there is some hope, that there is some peace, that they need to breathe and put on that oxygen mask. It's a tough thing to do when your shoulders are up to your ears. That's just hard. You breathe from your throat rather than your diaphragm. And those things are really tough. And it's tough, on the other hand, for lots of attorneys who are facing that, to bring this full circle, who are facing that leap into the pond to hire somebody. You're doing the same thing. You need to breathe through that process as well. It's very similar.
Yeah. Because if you're not, and you're trying to do everything, take the orders, run in the back, make the donuts, what have you, you're bringing your shoulders into your ears into that conference room. And I would assert that's why you're not getting hired, and or why you're not able to provide that Disney experience and that white glove service to your clients, which ultimately, like you said, I just want to be out talking to the families. I just want to be out there helping people. There's no way in hell you would ever have the opportunity to even sit down and find that picture that you found on the cheap and have that wherewithal and that creativity and that vision to walk them through that experience when they walk into your conference room versus show me your bank accounts, if you didn't have someone like Courtney that would be handling the paperwork to allow that creativity to open up for you.
Yes, and it is having that vision that I got distracted for a second. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to run here in a minute. But it is important to have that vision and have that support so that you can, or to have that breathing space so you can. Okay, let's start over with that one. It's important to create that breathing space and sit there and think about how having someone to fill those needs that you might have, to fill those shortcomings. It's important to think about what that leaves you free to be able to do. That's where you discover your passion. And when you discover your passion, it all comes together.
And you're a perfect poster child for that.
Oh, you made me smile. Thank you.
5 years later. So in closing, real quick, what would be one drive-by tip that you could give our listeners today that might be sitting in a place of making their first hire, their 10th hire, or they're at a place of white knuckling and their ears and their shoulders in their ears and not breathing? And what tip would you give them in regards to feeling the fear and doing it anyways around making the leap of making your first and or next hire?
Okay, I've got two, actually. The first tip is call and talk to Molly because she's amazing. The second tip is to ask yourself if you really want to stay where you're at. Are you comfortable where you are at? If the answer to that is no, you've got to try something different. Isn't that the definition? Don't we say that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting the same results?
Yes. Wow. I love that. Well, Kari, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to have in the show notes Kari's website, how you can connect with Kari on social in regards to connecting on her website with her amazing resources that she has out there. So thank you for being our guest today. Thank you for having the courage to make that leap of making your first hire. And my greatest wish is one day to have Miss Courtney on my podcast so she can speak from the client services perspective.
Good luck with that one. But Molly, seriously, if your listeners really want some advice or some feedback on what you do from my perspective, because as you know, I am completely disinterested in whether you eat or not. Well, that's not true. But if they want to know about what your services are and how you really helped me and want some personal insight on what I did to change how I looked at making money and finding my balance in this process, I would be delighted for them to reach out to me.
Thank you. And I'm going to have all Kari's contact information below in the show notes. So until next time, thank you, Kari, for joining us today.
Thank you, Molly.